Hey guys, and welcome to this year's edition of Watch Madness. This is our March Madness episode on watches. We had to skip last year due to some COVID concerns. I was planning on getting you a special guest for this episode, as I normally do in years past, but that just didn't work out. So we're just going to do this by myself. So, like always, let's go over the rules of the Watch Madness. This year's category is fashion watch brands. Okay, and I'm going to show you the board of who made the Sweet 16, and we're going to go through the brackets in there and determine the winner of them all. So let's show you the bracket as it currently stands. Okay, so you notice on top you have the 1 seeds, which are Bulgari and Cartier. You do have the 2 seeds, which are Hermes and also Tiffany. Okay, the 3 seeds are brought to you with Versace and Chanel. The 4 seeds are Gucci and Prada. The 5th seeds are Louis Vuitton and Dior. The 6 seeds are Fendi and Michelle. The 7 seeds are Guess and Michael Kors. And the 8 seeds are Boss and finally Kate Spade. Now you might say a couple of these watch brands on here really are a little offbeat. Well, again, guys, these are fashion watch brands. We're going everything from Cartier, which is known for not just fashion, but Swiss watchmaking as well, but they are a fashion brand, all the way down to Boss, which would be considered total fashion. A lot of these fashion brands, they make watch lines. Some of them are actually quite better than you think, and some of them are what they are. But when they go head-to-head against some other companies and some other brands, let's see how they do on this scale. Now, every year we do the same scale. We can go up to 50 points here. Okay, and basically they are rated on 5 things. Let's go back to the board and show you. Number 1 is reputation. Number 2 are features and functions. Number 3, Reese's! Sorry, my dog. Number 3 is affordability. Number 4 are the aesthetics, which also are looks. And number 5, finally, is resale. Okay, 5 of these functions are very important when buying a watch. So we rate these each category from 1 to 10, give you a total them up, and give you a final score of what they do against each other. Okay, so here are my ratings on how everything played out in the Sweet 16. Let's go to the first matchup, which is Cartier, the number 1 seed, against Boss, the number 8 seed. All right, these 2 brands, total opposite ends of the spectrum. When you think of Cartier, you think of high-priced, high-quality, high-end everything. That's what Cartier is. So, again, on the scale of resale and on the scale of reputation, along with looks, okay, it's going to score quite high. It's going to score anywhere between the 8 and the 9 range. So if you add all those 3 up, let's give that as an average of 9. That equals 27. When it comes to affordability, that's where you're going to have a little problem, especially in this economy, in this day and age. Cartier is not the most affordable watch out there on the market, especially when you're comparing it to Boss. So if we scale the first 3 categories as 9s, the highest part of their bracket, then you do have like a 5 in terms of affordability, because there's only a certain segment of the population that can afford Cartier, although you can get them used and you can get them on resale for a pretty decent value. But we'll go right in the middle. We'll say a 5 for that. So if you go there, that adds up to 32. And we go with the features and functions. They're not known for a lot of features and functions, though they do have them. They do every once in a while will throw in a moon phase. They will throw in some other features, not just the day date. Sometimes they'll go with a day night or a chronometer, but they're not known for it. So, but if you take it all their lines are classic. All their lines are great in the resale value, like I said. But if we give them a 7 for that, let's bring that up, and that would bring a total score of Cartier against Boss to a 39. Now, Boss, in terms of their 5 categories, reputation isn't very high. You'd have to give them maybe a 4 because they're not known for watches. Their features and functions are better, so you probably give that a 7. The affordability is anywhere between an 8 and a 9. All right, so then when you add in the looks and the resale, you're going to, the looks are actually around that 7 category, and then the resale factor is about a 5. So when you add them all up, it actually doesn't come out to about that bad, but it comes out to around a 39-32 score. Cartier does move on, okay, in that matchup. So that's the first one that is moving on to the Elite 8. Let's take a look at the 4-5 matchup right now, which is Gucci versus Dior. Okay, this is an interesting one. Gucci is known for a lot more than their fashion lines. If anybody saw The House of Gucci, it's an interesting movie. I do recommend that. But Dior, again, opposite ends of the spectrum. It's a nice 4-5 matchup. Dior is very expensive. Gucci is not in terms of their watch lines. Their watch lines are anywhere between $300 to probably $1,500 tops, whereas Dior can run from $1,000 to $10,000 based on the actual model of the watch. So when we took at affordability, Gucci is going to win in the affordability category. When you go to the looks, Gucci actually wins there too. Their models are a lot more recognizable than Dior. You really don't recognize Dior very well. In terms of resale, though, Dior does have the edge. And in terms of features and functions, again, it's going to go to Gucci. Neither of them have a lot of features or functions in their watches. They just don't focus on that. But the reputation, you're going to probably go with the name brand that is actually worth more. But again, with Dior and Gucci, those are two very, very high-powered names. This is a very, very close fight between the two. But overall, if you're talking about the watches and what brand has the most recognizable model through the years, it's the Gucci 9000 XL, which is their most popular watch line. Gucci does squeak by Dior based on their reputation and based on their affordability. They squeak by them on a score of 37 to 35. Okay, so that's a close matchup, as you would expect it to be. Let's take a look at Versace versus Fendi on this bracket, the 3 versus the 6 seed. This is an interesting matchup. Versace, again, they're known for a couple of watch lines, and they have spawned off a couple of other brands as well from them. Specifically, Versus is their cheaper line of Versace, and that's the more affordable one. But Versace watches are actually anywhere between probably about $1,000 and up, and Fendi is a lot more like Gucci. They're probably around the $300 range. That can go all the way up to $3,000. But in terms of which one is an actual better watch, well, in terms of reputation, they're about even. In terms of features and functions, they're about even. Affordability, Fendi, again, has the edge. Looks-wise, they're about even. And resale, probably Versace has the edge on this one. But we're going to move Fendi on 36 to 35 here, because just of the affordability issue. When you have two watches that are very, very similar in what they offer, especially these two watch brands, you have to go with affordability because people can't afford the higher priced one. So Fendi is going to move on here, the 6 seed, to upset the 3 seed Versace, 36 to 35. Let's look at the 2 versus 7. Okay, this is an interesting matchup here. Hermes has been around for quite some time now. Remember, Hermes has an advantage here because they have Swiss technology. They have a Swiss line like Cartier, Bulgari. So they're very similar here. So you're going to go with the reputation, and the resale is going to favor Hermes versus Guess, which again is a low-end fashion brand. Hold on one second, please. Racist! So you're going to have that advantage. Now, again, Guess is going to be have the advantage in the affordability and the features and functions category because, again, they can do more using Chinese. Remember, Guess uses a lot of Chinese and Japanese movements and features and functions. So they're going to have certain things like the day-night. They'll have the chronographs. They'll have all different types of features and functions that you would find in these, like a triple date they could have. They have all these different unique functions, the moon phase, stuff like that. But in terms of looks, they're about even. I mean, Hermes is a really, really nice, sleek brand. Guess has some really nice looking watches. They're not going to hold up, obviously, but there are a lot cheaper. But Hermes is going to move on here against Guess. This is not really a shocker. This one's going to be 38 to 29. Not really close because Hermes is just a better watch brand, and they're actually pretty affordable in terms of what you can get them for. You can get a Hermes even on eBay for about $500 to $600, and it'll last you. They do have the auto quartz movement too, which I have shown on a previous episode, which is a unique feature as well for those types of watches. So they do offer some unique things. Let's go to the other side of the bracket over here, and let's take the number 1 seed Bulgari against number 8 Kate Spade. This looks like a blowout. It is. Bulgari wins on reputation. They're going to win on the features and functions. They do have a lot of them in their watches. I do have them with dual time zones. I do have them with like a triple date feature. They have gold. They use titanium. They use stainless steel. They use a lot of different things in their watches. Kate Spade has minimal lines over here. Resale, again, going to go to Bulgari. Looks is going to go to Bulgari. The only thing that Kate Spade will have on Bulgari here is affordability, but that's not nearly going to come close when you add them all up. And Bulgari wins this one easily, 40 to 21 over Kate Spade. So we do have Bulgari moving on. That ends up being quite the blowout. We have Prada now against the 4-5 seed, again, against Louis Vuitton. Here we go, running into 2 high-powered brands. Again, reputation, about even. Features and functions, about even. They don't really, either of them doesn't really use too many features and functions. Affordability, about even. So, I mean, this is going to be really, really tight. They're both in the thousands of dollars in those categories. None of them are very accessible. Neither of them make a ton of watches, but they do make them. They use about the same movements in their watches. Looks-wise and resale. Resale, about even. And you're going to get looks. It all comes down to preferential treatment here. This is like an overtime game. In terms of Louis Vuitton and Prada, the most recognizable one in the market, I'd say it comes down to reputation. It's not going to be Louis Vuitton, it's going to be Prada. So we're going to have them squeak on by 35 to 34 over Louis Vuitton, only because Prada does have a bigger watch name in the industry. But that's basically it. They're very, very, very similar, and you can see why they're a 4-5 matchup on this board. Number 6 versus number 3 on this side, Chanel versus Michel. Okay, this is an interesting one because, again, Chanel known for their perfume. Michel is known for their watches more than their other jewelry lines. So again, you actually got a reputation here going for Michel because they actually have a pretty robust line, and they're known for women's watches over men's, which gives them an advantage in the market because not a lot of people focus on women over men, unfortunately, in the watch market. But they do. So they're going to have an advantage over Reputation. Their features and functions over Chanel are about the same. The affordability is going to go to Michelle also. You can get a Michelle watch for $400, $500, $600, whereas Chanel, it's going to cost you a couple thousand. Looks-wise, you'd probably give the Chanel a little bit over Michelle, but they're not. They're pretty close, and the resale value you'd give the Chanel also only because of the name. But again, this is going to be a 33 to 30 victory on my board over here for Michelle. So you do have 2 6 seeds advancing here over the 3 seeds on this board when you compare them on which is the better buy. So let's go take a look at the 2 versus 7 now. On this side of the board, you have Tiffany versus Michael Kors. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I wouldn't say it's a blowout, but it is an interesting matchup to some respects. So you do have Tiffany, who is known for their jewelry line the most, but they do make a nice high-quality watch. They do use Swiss movements in their watches, versus Michael Kors, who is going to be a lot cheaper. So they're going to win on the affordability issue, depending on who you ask, the looks issue, but definitely not on the resale, the features, or the reputation issue. So this is we're not going to spend too much time on this because Michael Kors is a Chinese-made brand. So Tiffany is going to move on here, 36 to 28. Really not that close. No upset there. Only because Tiffany is more affordable than you think. You can get a Tiffany watch, especially a resale Tiffany watch, probably for $700, $800, which is not bad if you do like the brand. They're not out of the market affordable as some other brands are. So let's take a look at the Elite 8. Okay, now we have Cartier going against Gucci. Interesting matchup. Cartier is going to win on reputation. In terms of features and functions, they're about the same. Affordability is where Gucci wins over Cartier. Looks-wise, Cartier's, again, the looks of Cartier's watches are iconic. They came out with the tank watch. They came out with the Ballon Bleu. They came out with a lot of different models that you know and love today that I've had on the show between It's About Time and Watch Out that I've showed you over the years. But again, Gucci does have their lines that are very recognizable, like the 9000 XL is their most fashionable line. They do have the G type watch, that model as well, which is also very popular. So they've done a good job with branding. But if you go on resale, again, Cartier is going to win over Gucci. It's a better investment. So Cartier is going to win over Gucci. A little tighter here, but they're still going to advance 37 to 33 when I add them all up on my board. So Cartier is moving on to the Final Four, where it will face the winner of Fendi or Hermes. Now, this, again, interesting matchup. You got more of a fashion brand here, you got more of a Swiss brand here. So again, affordability is going to favor Hermes as well as reputation. The features and functions, they're about even. Affordability is going to favor Fendi, and the resale is going to favor Hermes. So we're not going to take too much time on this one because Hermes is going to win this, we'll say, by a category of 37 to 33 over Fendi. Hermes moves on. So there will not be another upset in that aspect. So let's take a look at what we have here with Bulgari and Prada. Okay, the number 1 against the number 4 seed. Well, again, looking at the categories, you have to give the edge to Bulgari on reputation, features and functions, but not affordability Looks-wise, again, you'd probably have to give it to Bulgari. They're known for that iconic coin, Roman coin look, which is what they base all of their jewelry on, whereas Prada doesn't have a distinguished look like Bulgari does. And the resale, again, has to go to Bulgari over Prada. So again, this is going to be more of a blowout. 39, we'll say, to 32. Bulgari is going to advance on to the Final Four. Again, no shocker there. Let's take a look one more time here at the bottom of this bracket to round out the Final Four, Michelle versus Tiffany. Okay, so now you're really battling the tier between reputation and affordability. You have a higher end here of affordability with Michelle versus Tiffany, who has a higher end reputation due to their jewelry line and the movements that they use. Features and functions about the same. Affordability favors Michelle. Looks wise, they're about even. And the resale, believe it or not, for what you pay and what you get back, they're about even. So you're going to have an upset here when you have Tiffany versus Michelle. Michelle is actually moving on. The 6 seed upends the 2 seed. And this is by a final score of 35-34. Again, upset just barely, but Michelle is moving on to the Final Four, where it does face Bulgari. Okay, and now we got Bulgari versus Michelle. Now you're really getting high end. You got the 1 seed against the 6 seed moving into the Final Four in this bracket. Reputation and the function and features category are going to go to Bulgari. The affordability is going to go to Michelle. Looks-wise is going to go to Bulgari, and the resale is going to go to Bulgari. So when you take these two and you match these two brands up, this is where the 1 seed just overpowers the 6 seed, and Michelle runs out of gas when you turn to these two categories. And Bulgari is your winner here by a score of 39-32. Really not too close. And now let's take a look at our other Final Four seed, Hermes versus Cartier. Now this is fun. Okay, the Hermes versus Cartier is probably a very, very tight match. Hermes, again, reputation is very, very well known in the industry, but not like Cartier. So Cartier is going to have, again, with all their iconic models, they make their own movements. They're ones that have changed and revolutionized the industry. One of the top 5 watch brands in the world. So even though Hermes is probably top 20, you're talking about Cartier, who is top 5. So you're going to lose in that aspect. Features and functions, again, even though Hermes has unique things like auto quartz added to their line, Cartier has both quartz. They have both automatic movements. They have a variety of functions and features in their watches, depending on which ones that you go with. More towards the quartz side than the automatic, obviously, but they got power reserves. They got everything you would want in a watch, especially the higher end versions. Affordability is going to favor Hermes. Looks-wise is going to favor Cartier, and resale is going to favor Cartier. You really don't lose money with Cartier watches. You don't make money like Rolex, but you don't lose money. So if you bought one for $5,000, most likely you're going to get $5,000 back whenever you want to sell it, as long as you keep it in good condition. So Cartier is going to be moving on against Hermes. And now you have the 2 1 seeds squaring off. So again, Cartier moves on by a score, again, really not close. Probably about the same score, 39. We'll say 33 on this one. And now, who is the winner between Cartier and Bulgari? So this is followed to form a couple of upsets along the way from the Sweet 16 to get to this final matchup that we're talking about right now, which is, again, Cartier versus Bulgari. 2 very big behemoths in the watch industry, and they both happen to be listed in the watch fashion category. About as big as it gets. So let's take a look at the board again and go back to where we think the edges are. Reputation. Again, Bulgari and Cartier. Bulgari is a top 10 brand in my personal opinion. Cartier is top 5. So you're going to give reputation to Cartier. Functions and features. Cartier is very, very experienced in them. Bulgari, actually, I think, is just as good, if not better, with a lot of their Octo models. They got a lot of different unique features that they like to do, and especially with a lot of their models, they can go their Diagonal model. They got a lot of different things. Even though Cartier, it's very, very close here, but I would, to make this even more dramatic, I'll say I'll give the edge to Bulgari on this one. Affordability is going to be Bulgari over Cartier. Usually Cartier watches are not cheap. Neither is Bulgari, but you can find Bulgari watches, especially on eBay in the resale category, either women's or men's. You can find their tank models a lot cheaper than you can Cartier. So you got to give the affordability here off to Bulgari. Looks wise, again, they're about dead even, so we're going to call, I mean, they're both beautiful. It's all subjective, but you may give the slight edge to Cartier because of more known models than Bulgari has, even though they do have the Octo, and they do have some of the other lines that they're known for. Cartier has more, but in terms of resale, this is probably the tiebreaker. Bulgari has a decent resale value. You'll probably get 75% back, but Cartier, you're going to get the whole thing back, most likely. So the resale does edge in terms of Cartier. And Cartier is your champion in terms of all these watch models. And this one, I would say they win by a little bit of margin here. We're going to say 40 to 38 over Bulgari. So your champion of the fashion watch category for March Madness in 2022, still between the one seeds, is Cartier. Bulgari comes in a close second. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with me today. I usually like to do this with partners to give you a difference of opinion on what somebody else would think, as opposed to what I bring to the table as well. But I didn't want to delay this episode anymore, so I wanted to get this one definitely off the board. So again, I'll be around probably next month with a brand new episode for everybody. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the March Madness episode this year, and hopefully in the category of college basketball. For men's, hopefully Kansas brings home the title for me, so that would be nice. Again, so thanks everybody for joining me, and watch out for another episode coming up next month. Have a good one.